Okay.
It's 3.
Yeah.
All right, it's 3.
Yeah.
It ain't 1. It ain't 2. It's going to be 3.
No, it's not, I guess.
What we're talking about is the local government reorganisation of Suffolk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Again.
Well, it's
Mark, how many?
Well,
Since we've been here.
Yeah, I think it's. I think perhaps for some parts of Suffolk, there may be better geographical location, but I think for us out on the Felixstowe Peninsula, it's destroying the heritage that we have with Woodbridge.
Yeah.
And what worries me a lot is we're continually seeing in the press and being said by lots of folk, it's a greater Ipswich. Well, no, people that live here don't want to be subsumed by Ipswich. In fact, that's the last thing that they want to do. Because I asked this question, just to put you in a picture, on Wednesday the 24th of February at midday, the Secretary of State said that the unitary authorities for Suffolk would be 3 unitary authorities, and they're basically east, north and east and south. If you can envisage that. I've got a little map here. I'll put it up in the system.
I'll stick one up.
For the whole lot of them. Yeah. But fundamentally, if we're looking at our patch, and that's the one we're interested in. Well, that's the one we're interested in. We are, So basically it goes from Hadley, and just a bit beyond Hadley in the west.
One great town, yes.
It goes, it's a very medieval, lovely walled town.
One great town.
Yeah. And then it goes sort of out in the Moondocks, up the A14, across to the A12. It encompasses Kesgrave, so it's north of Kesgrave, Maltlesham, and then it comes down to Felixstowe in the east.
Another great town, yes.
Exactly.
Yes,
so you've got, mind you, Ipswich is an old town, it was 8th century creation.
Yeah,
And it was there for Roman times. So there's a bit, but it's not been looked after.
I know.
I find quite depressed by it.
We're going to have to create a bit of local Felixstowe, not exactly the Ipswich, but you're local and you're Felixstowe, and therefore you've got Felixstowe and Ipswich.
Yeah, I was going to share with you
rather than Ipswich and Felixstowe.
I think back in 2004/5.
Yeah.
We had a presentation from we then used to have a tourist board. Do you remember we used to have one that actually spoke and
did
things?
The restaurant now, isn't it?
And that's sort of been allowed to
wheel on the vine. We've got a big hut now.
When I first came and sat on Felixstowe Town Council, the first thing I heard was, we want nothing to do with Ipswich. And then I saw, and this was before I got elected, the fact that what the district council here did, Suffolk Coastal. Do you remember there was nearly 1,000 beach huts?
Yes.
Many of them were actually owned by Ipswich people, and they used to come by train, come to Felixstowe, and that was a part of that relationship was pretty much destroyed.
And the caravan site.
And it was just wiped out, wasn't it? Yeah. So there's never been that sort of collaborative arrangement between Ipswich and Felixstowe. It's always been pretty much at arm's length. And, I think Ipswich has got to be parish now, isn't it? Before, so the structure has got to change.
Well, it's the Ipswich Town Council, won't it?
No, I think they're going to change it. It's a strange process they're going to have to go through. I'm not sure what it. In fact, there's quite a lot of uncertainty all of this.
It's not going to be
how it's going to work.
Not going to be a town council.
No, apparently not.
Well, how can it?
Currently it's a borough with the borough function, so it's the same function as Felixstowe Urban District used to be. And they cut that as a time. Well, that they will no longer have because it will be spread across Hadley, Kesgrave, Felixstowe, Ipswich, etc. But and the worry I think is if people are sort of saying Greater Ipswich, it does. It's not. It doesn't. It doesn't capture Suffolk, does it?
No. Well,
southern Suffolk might be better.
Hadley's a beautiful town. So, but I'm really going to talk about Ipswich because that's what I know.
Yeah.
Felixstowe is a major dock town.
I know.
It's not just sort of a you go there for the day for a paddle. You know,
No.
It's a major dock town.
It is, yeah.
And
It's the biggest container port in the UK.
And all the attached industries that are all around it.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's I think we can look Ipswich in the eye as equals myself. To be honest, don't I?
I did ask the question of our chief executive when we had a quick session after the announcement with regards to what the future was, and it was how it will proceed isn't that clear, but all the officers will be sort of standing by their post, and we'll be doing what we're going to have to do. But I did say, can you explain to me, I did say to him, look, I had lived in Felixstowe, and when I came, Suffolk Coastal already existed. But we have experienced the joining together of Suffolk Coastal and Waveney to make the biggest district council in England. And at that time, I was well aware that Suffolk Coastal had significant reserves. And I was never sure what Waveney's reserves were. We're now in the same situation again, where we, from Kesgrave down to us, are going to be hived off of East Suffolk District Council, and we will then be joined to
Ipswich Borough.
to Borough and some of Bayburn, because we're going to have Hadley and.
I mean,
so where how much the investment and council tax and reserves that the people in this area have paid in over the years, how do we actually know we're going to fair split? I mean, I'm well aware that Ipswich's financial situation is certainly not as good as Suffolk Coastal's were. So do we inherit their debt, or what? How do? And because I'm aware that the minister for this arrangement is, I think it's Thurrock. He's had to put in something like 800,000 quid to square the accounts so they can actually merge. So where are we with all of this?
I know Felixstowe Town Council is very, very well managed, and there is no problems at all, about the cash there. Well, Ipswich haven't actually now got I thought it was a town council, but
no, it's a borough.
But they're by reputation, they've got a debt, haven't they?
Well, that's what I asked for clarity and sadly didn't receive. Now, going forward, no doubt we
And that's
will.
very worrying. Can I say that that's very worrying?
Yeah.
That you were not told.
Because they don't know.
Yeah, but that is even more worrying.
Well, it is. But look, we had these three folk, 5 folk, who all stood together and said, wouldn't it be a good idea to do a 3-thing? And they've said all of that, but the issue that will impact on us particularly, and the point being, we're the only bit of East Suffolk that's being cut away from Woodbridge, if you like. The line is on the River Deben, basically, and then it goes up through and meanders through there. And that's the cut. And I just question, but overall, what I really am worried about is the minister, preceding the one we currently have, in the white paper they issued, said 2 key things. You utilise the existing local government structures to build on, so you add them together, or whatever, and you should have a population of 500,000 as an aim. When we look at what has now been decided for Suffolk, he's ignored both of those recommendations. The population of all 3 of the new unitary authorities will be less than 300,000.
Well, that's a good thing.
Well, it may be, but the point being, it's not what his white paper said is guidance. But then the second thing is that we are now breaking up a number of district councils to achieve the bit that Ipswich requires.
Can I go?
Yeah.
When they formed Suffolk, when Ipswich, Felixstowe Borough Council was in existence, and Suffolk Coastal came in, and even more so when they split it and included the whole of East Suffolk in a district council. I think many of us in Felixstowe thought that all the ratepayers' money, all the council taxes and business taxes, etc., from the docks especially, and all the surrounding population, we had this sort of sneaking feeling that much of that was going towards the rejuvenisation of Lowestoft and all the rural areas that were quite well usually lower taxed than us. And many of us just had the feeling that we were subsidising. Our little bit at the bottom here was subsidising the top.
I think you may have some grounds, because I mean, you're going to have to go a bit further back, and you're going to have to go back to when we used to be in an organisation called the European Union.
Yes.
Well, the European Union used to have special funds for areas that were struggling, and I mean struggling a lot, economically, socially, and they put an additional amount of funding into those areas, and Waveney was one of those areas. So the funding that they gave, as far as I can see, has never really been replicated by Westminster.
Do you know?
Westminster's never done that, so it's been left to us. And basically, the way Lowestoft has been, it's been very successl in being able to get grant funding from various departments. It's a bagging bowl. And it's not nice to see. But I mean,
Felixstowe, when they did all our gardens up, that was European money, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think there was a dollar.
No, it was something that, because of the politics and it was conservative at the time, it wasn't really sort of broadcast very widely. It never is.
Well, the Orwell bridges, I mean, they paid for more than half of that, and the road network around it was equally funded by. Because we never in this country adopted this as an EU project on plaques on anything, did we? But that's gone. So here we are, but I've got an opinion piece here, written by Jack Abbott, and his headline is, "A big win with Greater Ipswich Council on the horizon." Well, he's the MP for an area of Ipswich. It's not for him to call what this is going to be, because the names of the three unitary authorities have yet to be agreed. So perhaps Mr. Jack Abbott could modify his language and say that for Ipswich, this is undoubtedly of benefit, particularly if they have towns like Hadley, Kesgrave and Felixstowe to help fund whatever their aspirations may be. But I mean, I go to Bury, I go to Colchester and I go to Ipswich. There are sort of key towns. I do get up to Norwich occasionally, but not as often. And I'm afraid Ipswich really is looking so
sad.
Well, it's
neglected.
It's
decrepit.
I mean, possibly they reflect a greater impact on them of retail chains that have failed. You know, such as British Home Stores, Debenhams. But they haven't shown any initiative in getting it going, have they? So I don't know. I mean, it may breathe new life into Ipswich, but you and I are of an age we won't see the outcome of this, will we? But what we do know, don't we, was that 50 years ago, Michael Heseltine said, "This is a great new scheme of local government. It will actually expand the area. It will reduce the numbers. It will be much more efficient." That's what he said, because that's what they all say. I think the proof of this will be in the tasting, won't it? And I should, if I'm lucky, and you could, live the 4.5 years that we're being told that this will need to start showing a pace back. I really have reservations on whether it ever will do.
Personally, though, I think that this threesome is better than what we had with East. I was never a fan of East Suffolk at all. I mean,
so you can become a fan then?
I think the Ipswich, Hadley, Ipswich, Felixstowe axis, I think is marginally better.
Oh, right. Okay.
Marginally better. We'll wait and see. But I never liked the idea of the East Suffolk split Lowestoft down to us in Felixstowe.
Well, it was a long coastal strip.
Well, it was not only that. I've just said it before, but you just felt that our money in Felixstowe was going up north.
So now it won't have to go
rather
north.
than staying.
Well,
with
it could go west now, can't it? Look, it can head west. Well,
Hadley is quite a.
I'm not
nice
talking about Hadley. I'm talking about this black hole in the middle.
Oh right.
Yeah. At the top of the river Orwell. But we'll see, folks. So that's a sort of a bit of a chanter. There's still a lot to work out because what I was going to do is significant dates. This year, as you know, the county council is going to have the elections that were delayed from last year.
That's money down the drain.
So that's 2026.
Money down the drain.
Yeah, but that's happening.
Yeah.
So it's happening. Yeah. So you will have a complete change. Well, you mightn't. I mean, the Conservatives may retain control of Suffolk County Council.
Money down the drain, anyway.
But what you will then have in April of 2027 is the election of a shadow authority in the Unitary councils, and they will shadow for a year, and then in April 2028 that will come into operation. So effectively I need to live until 2033 to see if the promises being made today ever come to pass. And my real gut feel is fat chance, because what I do not see, and this was one of the big issues with regards to having smaller unitary authorities, is how do they deal with the great expensive provision of social care and education. And I think that, unless they actually end up with the three councils agreeing to share the provision of those two services across the whole of the county.
I think that would be
because that's what it needs to do, because I think it would be mindless to break it up. But I think that would be the difficulties, and I think what you will end up with, and this is without a doubt, you will have less representation. You will need to elect folks who are able to do virtually a full-time job as a unitary councillor, and you actually will have that particular councillor representing many more people across many more areas of local government than they ever have before. So they won't need to be people that have got the time, the expertise and the knowledge. So I think it's a vaguely anti-democratic because it limits the folks who can choose to stand.
Yeah. And we haven't even mentioned the mayor.
No, sorry, but I will. It was envisaged that we would be voting for a mayor this year. Now the mayor is going to be the kingpin between Norfolk and Suffolk, and he will drive things such as the tidal barrier at Lowestoft. The cost of it is reputed to be somewhere around £300 million, way beyond any district council to undertake. And it was said in the debate on how we could jolly that along was that we would be reliant upon the mayor of two counties to be pushing actually strategic developments in transport and protection, and that would be a case in point. Now what they have done, perversely, they've restructured the integrated care boards, which is responsible for your health, in anticipation of having a mayor. Now there isn't a mayor, but there will be integrated. So I'm afraid Westminster, as far as Suffolk is concerned, and Norfolk actually, have somewhat missed the point in lots of areas, haven't they?
Yeah.
There you go, son. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
That do you?
Yeah.
Are we exhausted now, are we?
Yeah, long live Felixstowe.
Well, I think Felixstowe needs to get out there. Well, I think actually the town council, now that it's sort of across the piece and isn't that politically split, it is doing a good job, but it'll need to do it into the future.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Politics go out, politics are left at the front door in Maine.
That's what council should be doing.
And that's what it should be. But in Felixstowe Town Council, that is what happens.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't in my day, but you're lucky you come to it in your older day, and it's a much more reflective.
Yeah,
of the
well, I think
population
it's
that lives
because
there.
it's more of a mix between the parties are evenly more evenly spread.
Well, you end up with a much more collegiate, but you also have a discussion.
Yeah.
But there you go, folks. I hope we haven't bored you, but that's just two folks who've seen quite a lot over there, combined, 160 odd years, and we do tend to get these unbelievable promises from lots of people with regards to, we'll redo this, and reorganisation always strikes me as a bit of a failure of making what you got work.
Can I say before, as an end now?
Yeah,
right.
let's have an end.
I just want to say that Orwell Peninsula Matters is now going to follow the trends locally, especially in this period of great change, and about once or twice a month we are going to do extended ones like this, that if you're prepared to listen to the end, you'll find the inner workings of what's going on as far as we know, and it might fill in a few gaps in your
Certainly
knowledge.
a few gaps and some misconceptions.
Yeah.
Because as it is said, a sort of a rumour has twice the speed and twice the legs of the truth. Currently, getting to the truth is kind of difficult. But lovely. If you've been watching us, enjoy, and see you the next time. Bye bye.